And of course, we are still waiting for that address by King Charles III. And we do understand that it's going to be 6 p.m. local time, which is 7 p.m. our time. But these pictures that you're seeing on your screen right now are live visuals of the Buckingham Palace. And this is where earlier we saw King Charles and the Queen Consort alighting from a vehicle and greeting, the crowds that had gathered there. There was quite a number of, people that were there hoping to reach out to the hand of, the king and passing messages of condolences. And this, of course, was the first time that King Charles was coming back to this palace as a king after losing his mother last night. And we are expecting, even from that, that pre-recorded address this evening, that he will be able to then somewhat talk about the passing of his mom and how this is going to impact the nation. Because you can only imagine right now that this country has seen a change in government. It's seen now a change in a head of state. So what he says to this nation is going to really be important, as some are saying that there needs to be certainty that he also speaks with during that particular address. And also at the same time, you think about the numbers of, people that have gathered here. We saw the same, flowers being laid outside the Balmoral, palace where the Queen, passed away peacefully. So there's been quite a lot that has been developing. And right now we're joined by our international editor, Sophie Mokoena, who joins us now just to talk about, what can we expect as we're inching closer to 7 o'clock. Sophie, we were talking about how the crowds had gathered when the king was coming back, earlier on this afternoon. And you think about the fact that he was accompanied by the Queen Consort. Let's talk about the significance of him coming back to Buckingham Palace now as king.
Well, I think those visuals are similar to the ones in 1952 when the Queen came back from Kenya. You'd recall that she was on holiday with a partner, that is the Prince Philip then. And therefore, when she returned back to the United Kingdom, she was a queen, and therefore people were lining the streets. And the order of business was that immediately on arrival, she also met the then Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Winston Churchill. And now today we saw a similar event where we saw the current king, even though tomorrow he will be officially be a king, arriving, and on arrival, a long drive. And I was talking to the political editor, Mzondile Mbeche, saying to him that it looks like a long lap and almost like introduction of here is the man who is going to take over. And therefore, from their arrival at Buckingham Palace, thousands waiting there, flowers, people greeting him, and it was a similar also scenes that we saw when Lady Diana passed on, when the Queen and Prince Charles then went out to greet the crowds outside Buckingham Palace. And therefore, it's almost like history repeating itself, even though in different times, different reasons. And now tonight we are waiting to hear from him.
And as we wait, to even hear from him, Sophie, there's a lot of expectations. Of course, a number of people are expecting him to talk about, the significant loss that this, he has suffered, his mom. But at the same time, he's going to talk about what happens next.
Yes, I think it is going to be a very short message where he is going to perhaps share with the nation and the world at large how he feels, and perhaps kind of also comfort the nation and perhaps those who are very close to the Queen and those who believed in the Queen. And therefore, and tomorrow only, where I expect him perhaps to kind of be broader in terms of what's likely to happen, and perhaps giving direction in terms of his leadership and the leadership style. But one thing that I've observed...
To my darling Mama, and as you begin your journey, your long journey to join my beloved Papa, thank you so much for all you've done. May a flight of angels sing you. You know, really, this is such a poignant way for, you know, now King Charles III to end off his message to the nation, starting off by talking about how they owe the most heartfelt debt any family can ever owe to their mother, and saying that she's mourned very deeply in her passing. And Osofi still joins us here in studio. Osofi, you know, before we even talk about, you know, Cape Town, we just talk about the King Charles III as a son. And once again, that closeness that he shared with his mother coming back to, you know, to light.
Yes, indeed, the parents. We know that he was very close to his father. We remember when his father passed on, Prince Philip. I think he did show the emotions, and that was clear then that the relationship was very strong. And of course, as he pointed out, the mother and the matriarch, the woman who led that country as the head of state of United Kingdom for 70 years. And it is that endurance that was displayed by his mother that has propelled him to be where he is. Even during difficult times, the fallout with the former wife, Princess Diana, who was loved by the nation, and he had to pick himself up. And I have no doubt that the parents were there to assist him to rise again. And today, he is the king.
And at the same time, you think about that moment as you talk about Princess Diana, that even his own mother came under fire during that time, because some were saying that she's not showing any signs of mourning until even that moment when we saw her coming out of Buckingham Palace.
Yes, today he displayed maturity. And I think with the passing of time, he has realized that he has to be human. And that is why he's involved in many charities, including wildlife and also environment, education. As he pointed out, that some of those responsibilities will be given to others because he has got now a bigger responsibility. And also, I want to return to Cape Town. I will definitely return to Cape Town because this is where you understand news that you may think this is a story far from us, but we, as a nation, as a country, as a continent, we paved the way for the changes that happened in that house, in a sense that in 1947, we did run a story yesterday and today talking about Queen Elizabeth's visit to South Africa in 1947, celebrating her 21st birthday, making that prophetic statement, almost committing to serving the Commonwealth and the United Kingdom. And even today, everybody is now referring to that speech. And Kenya, where the news came that his father has passed on, and she becomes a queen on the continent where she made a pledge. And today, his son making that pledge. And him also talking about how the Second World War has kind of changed the dynamics. Today, we have the United Nations with the aim of uniting the people of the world, because we believe, the world believes that we have to be one. And therefore, almost not really talking about the changes that we can expect under his leadership, I think, to try and modernize the monarchy. And him talking about handing over certain responsibilities, even changing the title of Prince William and Catherine, who now are becoming the Duke and the Duchess of Wales, and which speaks to now they are indeed going to be the next in throne, should anything happen.
And he even, you know, borrows also even from his own mother's speech there in Cape Town about the pledge to serve her people, and saying that she was really going to do everything she possibly can. And this is what he says he's now going to do to ensure that the service that his mother pledged to the people is going to be quite important. But also, if one thinks about, when you think about Cape Town, it's then no surprise that we are even seeing all these mixed reactions, even from the former colonies. Even here at home, you think about opposition parties, the PAC, the ATM, the EFF, among others, who have, had not so great words, to react, and watching also what is happening on social media and what people are saying on the streets.
With my little experience as a journalist, he got a briefing in terms of the reaction worldwide. He is fully aware where he is, that the former colonies are very aggrieved. And that is why he's trying to reach out. And him starting with South Africa, not even starting with Great Britain, starting with South Africa, he's trying to reach out to the Commonwealth countries. And I think this is a moment for him to do what those who were colonized want the monarchy to do, and the former colonizers and oppressors to do: apologize, take responsibility, where possible, pay the reparation, and where possible, repatriate what you took on the continent. And it will be peace.
And also talking about, for one thing that you mentioned earlier on, which is also important, is how he's learned over time. And one thinks about the relationship that he's had over time as well with his now Queen Consort, Camilla Parker Bowles. You think about how this, in various interviews, even with the late Princess Diana, continued to be a thorn in their marriage, because they met even before and during. She was still a factor in post. So thanking her tonight and saying that she's been quite a pillar, someone who has had the service to the people and on whose strength he's come to rely, is also a moment not to be taken lightly.
Yes, it is a moment where he is saying, we are now starting another journey. Please continue to support me. But also what was touching, him mentioning Harry and Meghan, saying they are trying to live their own lives overseas, almost endorsing what they are doing. Maybe behind the scenes, this is not something that they wanted, but they have accepted that this is now what they have chosen. And it's very strange, because the Queen passed on at a time where Mary and Meghan were in Europe for their charity work. Meghan looking after the One Goal, a project to help the poor and the disadvantaged and those who are suffering around the world, be it education, health, maternal health. And then Harry Invictus also helping those soldiers who got injured during the wars. And therefore, the passing on of the Queen, it's very historic. On a day after she confirmed Liz Truss as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And fortunately, the couple, Harry and Meghan, were in Europe, and therefore it was easy for them. We know that Harry was in Balmoral, even though he did his own arrangements to go to Balmoral, and he left in the morning, own arrangements, to Buckingham Palace. And as we speak, majority of them are now in London.
All right, Sophie, thank you so much for that.